Hello, chess lovers. Welcome back to Chess Tricky. I have 5 deadly traps in the Queen's Gambit for you. Very deadly, aggressive. 99% of your opponent will be confused. Before we begin, you should prepare your coffee, milk, or even tea so you can relax more comfortably. Let's go. Trap number 1. d4, d5. We play c4, the Queen's Gambit. The moves that are commonly played by beginners to intermediate level are capturing on c4, Queen's Gambit accepted. But here, Black will sometimes play knight to f6, the Queen's Gambit declined, martial defense. Okay, we simply take on d5, and after knight takes, continue developing the knight, and after Black mirrors your move, knight c6. We kick the central Black knight with the e-pawn. After this guy attacks the pawn back, we develop Queen's Knight while also protecting the pawn. Look, all your central pawns are ready to kick both of Black's knights. And if Black ignores your threat, for example, the bishop slides aggressively, pinning the knight. Indeed, it's a bit frightening because your d-pawn is under threat twice. So it's possible that Black can continue by capturing the knight. After the queen takes the bishop, the knight will then get your central pawn for free. Relax, bro. You don't need to panic. Finish your coffee first. We save the pawn. Clearly, we attack the knight. Of course, the knight has to return home, and this is a very, very sad move. And if your opponent is a bit clever, they continue by having the knight jump to e5. Now you are a bit in trouble, because your knight on f3, which is pinned, is being attacked twice. Feel free to pause the video. What is your move in this slightly confusing situation? You play the move that will surprise your opponent. If this bishop stays still like a statue, you strike immediately. So the bishop will usually be very happy to capture a very big fish. Your winning move is the bishop to b5 check. If the knight blocks, you capture with the bishop. After the queen takes, we recapture with the knight. You will be up one minor piece after the king takes the bishop. So the best move here is to block the bishop's attack with a pawn. And I can confidently say that your opponent here will be very frustrated, because in the next move, we push the pawn, discover check, then pawn takes Black queen. So whatever the variation, here you are 99% guaranteed to win. For example, the queen to c2 blocks the path of your pawn. We capture the pawn on b2, a discovered check. Only move, knight takes f7, delevering checkmate. A very beautiful attacking combination, starting with the queen sacrifice. Or, what if the king doesn't move? For example, the knight blocks the bishop's attack. Okay, puzzle time. Please find the checkmate in 2 moves, just 2 moves in this position. Let's move on. Trap number 2. After c4, what if now d takes c4, Queen's Gambit accepted? Here, your top move is knight to f3. Or you can also play in the London system style. Maybe e3 also looks more natural, because then the bishop can capture the pawn. And if pawn pushes to b5, with the idea of protecting the pawn, this is a move often played at the amateur level. We attack the pawn with a pawn. If pawn takes, simply we take with queen, giving a check. After bishop blocks, we capture the other pawn as well. Material looks balanced, but for this position, the computer gives us plus 1.2, meaning it's better for us. Okay, let's go back. What if here the a pawn protects the other pawn? This is a blunder, my friends, because the b pawn is free. If the pawn dares to recapture, we will get the rook. Let's go back and try another option. If the c pawn protects b5 pawn, pawn takes. Then, after we take on c6, it can be followed by the bishop capturing the pawn. So, after c takes b, how does Black save the rook, which is under threat from the queen? Whether they like it or not, Black must give up one of their pieces. So you will find it easier to win the game with the advantage of one piece. Okay, let's go back. What if, here, Black plays a different defense system? For example, Alekhine defense, usually followed by pawn to b5. We get pawn back. If Black responds with b5, attacking the bishop, also bishop ready to b7. Please pause the video. Where are you going to save the bishop? Okay, execute the tactical shot now. If the king takes the bishop, you continue with the queen to f3, giving a check. We will trade your bishop for black's rook. So, no matter where the king goes, you capture the rook with your queen. We will have a better material balance. Hey bro, what if the king doesn't take your bishop, but the king moves up to the queen's file? Just continue with the queen to c4. Black will soon lose their knight completely. And the knight must not move, because once it moves, it will be lost right away. Queen to e6, mate. A very quick checkmate. Brilliant, in just 7 moves. Trap number 3. After d takes c. Besides moving pawn to e3, we can also by moving knight to f3 after the standard move. Continue with e4, then the bishop takes on c4. If this guy, protecting its sibling. Continue with a4, attacking b5. If pawn takes, queen takes, the variation is exactly like the previous trap. And the top move is c6. Just takes. After c takes b, we push b pawn to b3, putting pressure on c4 twice. If c takes b, bishop takes with check, then queen takes this guy. In the next move, castle on the king's side. Of course, your development will be faster, and Team Black is clearly worse off, especially since their king hasn't castled yet. Okay, what if Black makes a different move? Let's say bishop a3, protect c-pawn, twice. We increase the pressure on c4. If Black is not careful, for example, if the pawn captures the pawn, you win quickly. Please pause the video. What is the winning move? Here we go. The rook! And after knight takes, the bishop captures the pawn, giving a check and also attacking the knight. Knight has to block. Bishop takes. After only move, black queen dead. Trap number 4. After pawn takes, knight f3. Previously, knight jumped to f6. What if black responds with pawn a3, signal the Alekhine defense, preparing pawn to b5? Just continue with normal development. And after black responds with a standard move, pawn to e4, preparing the bishop to develop, and it can capture the pawn. So black responds with the pawn to b5. We just kick this knight. And if knight runs to the center, we don't need to capture knight. Of course, queen will recapture it. We play the provocation move. Of course, the opponent will be a bit confused by this knight move. Your plan is very simple. Then, queen can go to f3, double attacking knight and threatening f7, or perhaps queen goes to h6. If knight takes the knight, recapture with pawn. Of course, you will have a very strong, solid pawn chain. So, in many cases, in various openings, black will usually be troubled by the knight. Then continue with the pawn to h6, kicking the knight so that it must go. The question is, should this knight go back? Your knight is prepared for battle, so it must not retreat. Just go ahead. Look here. The black king's face is a bit pale and confused. So, whether it likes it or not, the king must capture the slightly tough knight, and maybe a bit bitter as well. Continue with the queen to f3, giving a check. If the king goes to g8, we capture the knight, and you get back a minor piece. Or, if black maintains the material advantage, the king simply protects knight. Also, if in a desperate situation, the king can ride the knight and escape along with it. We just continue with the pawn to g4. The plan is very simple. Bishop then goes to g2, pressuring knight on d5 3 times. It can be followed by a short castling. And also here, knight can't go anywhere because it is pinned to the rook. So, if this knight is not protected, it will clearly be lost. To protect it, you can use a pawn or maybe the bishop. At the same time, the bishop also threatens to open up against your queen. Tell them, congratulations, you've been tricked. Bishop to h3, a sneaky checkmate. Let's move on. Tap number 5. d4 to d5, Queen's Gambit. Queen's Gambit accepted. Besides knight to f3, we can also push e-pawn to e4. The idea is attacking c4. If the pawn to b5, you respond with a 4, exactly the same as the previous trap. And what if black responds with a slightly odd move, pawn to c4, the Rubinstein defense? You don't need to capture the pawn, because black will usually be happy to accept the queen exchange. So we push d-pawn. After knight f6, attacking e4, knight c3, protect e4. Then bishop takes on c4. If black responds with b5, you should not capture this guy, because the queen will continue to a5, giving a check. After that, your knight has to retreat, blocks queen's attack, and then black's knight will capture on e4, attacking your knight twice. Of course, you will be slightly under pressure. We just play the standard move, for example, bishop to f4. In many cases, also according to the database, black will continue with bishop to a6. The idea is, after knight jumps to f3, then b-pawn kicks your queen's knight. Please feel free to pause the video. What is your move? Let's go. Bishop takes knight. If rook takes, queen a4 gives a check. Whatever blocks, just take the bishop. Cap, cap. Then collect the black pawn and castle. You will go all out on the attack because your king is already safe. Let's go back. What if the rook refuses to capture your bishop, but instead captures the knight with the b-pawn? Queen c4 gives a check. After queen blocks, queen takes. Pawn takes, rook under fire. Rook attacks b-pawn. Rook takes, also protect the b-pawn. The knight jumps while kicking the queen, and if the queen challenges your queen to a fight, pop quiz, what's your move? Please feel free to pause the video. Queen sacrifice! Black queen is under fire. The queen poisons because rook takes rook. Check. Queen has to block. A very beautiful checkmate. Good job, pony! We go back. What if the queen doesn't capture the queen, but instead chooses to capture the rook? Go ahead. Queen to c6 check. If knight blocks, the queen takes knight, checkmate. Even if the knight doesn't block, for instance king moves, but it's still checkmate after knight take on f7. Those are the 5 deadly traps in the Queen's Gambit that you can practice in your chess games. I hope you like it, and I hope it can be beneficial for you. I wish you happiness, continued success. Thank you, and finally, take care. See you in the next video.